Hey fam, right now I don't usually put the sound on, but I just want you to look at this person's face. Now, everybody know about the riots last night, but this is the person that they are assigning to oversee you. So they made sure that the person that is going to be assigned to determine who in those crowds get found and possibly charged with crimes as a black man. So I just want you to see him as I'm beginning this live, and I made sure that I waited till he came on because I knew the person that they selected was going to be a black man. So let me get to my post for today. Now I am not even. We're past. Why at some point tick tick boom. All right. They got to a point where there were by 1 o'clock, maybe before 1 o'clock, there was no police department because it was on fire. The National Guard was there, but they did nothing. So at that point, they just let the people just basically burnish it down, because at some point that's where we get to just burnish it down. And let me tell you when I got to burnish it down. So remember, they were talking about on the first day the feds being called. Now, originally the feds were being called, as I told you, because there was an allegation of a $20 bill, which is federal crime for fake money. Not that any kid in a store would know the difference between a fake 20 and a real 20, but that's a whole nother conversation. This is much more convoluted than you think. Now, by the afternoon after I spoke, you saw the Attorney General, not the local prosecutor. You saw the Attorney General of Minnesota. By that time, the Attorney General of each state takes their cues from Barr. So let's start with that, because if you notice, 45 didn't say shit till after last night, and now everybody are thugs. He didn't say anything about the murders. He didn't make any remarks about the what was seen on the video by every single person in the world by now. He decided to come out. The first thing he came out with, that these are thugs. Now, what I want you to know, that everybody rioting wasn't protesting, and everybody protesting wasn't rioting. And let me tell you because I watched from the time I came home, the last post that I did, until maybe 2 o'clock this morning. And you, as a past criminal trial attorney, I've gone out on many scenes, many charges, including arson. The writing is all of that is a distraction. And I was saying this to you yesterday. Among the writers were provocateurs. Now, it became much more apparent, if you were looking long enough, the slow penetration to the actual police station did not happen till well after maybe they're 1 hour behind us. So on our time, it may have been 11:30, almost midnight, by the time the actual police station went on fire. Now, at some point, the amount of fires did not allow you to get that many aerial shots from the helicopters, which is what CNN and MSNBC, but most of their observation is based not on people on the ground. They're talking to the people, but what's actually happening was going on and was being seen by helicopter. What was able to be seen at an angle was when the police station actually went on fire. And let me tell you why this is important. Most of the black people out there were protesting. You had provocateurs, you had protesting, then you had some people just running wild just because they could run wild. But very strategically, there were provocateurs. And one was explained very, very succinctly as it was happening. The way the police station was being burned, and the sides, and each side, as it blew all at the same time, that was the job of a professional arsonist. I could tell you, ladies and gentlemen, without a doubt, there ain't many black professional arsonists unless you've been in the military. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't, but the people who set because the building, the penetration to the building, they just waited till the black folks got closer and closer and closer. And then there's a time when I'm on MSNBC, and one of the guys, which is a crime scene investigator, was just pointing it out in real time. As the police department was burnt, where they got on top of the building and they burnt into the building, can you see us? And then the hashtag Floyd George. All right. So that was one thing, to be on top of the building and make a burn inside of the ceiling high enough for you to read it from the helicopter. Can you see us? Maybe 30 minutes after that, on 4 different points of the police station, a significant explosion that was not just throwing of regular, fire bombs or, the Molotov cocktails is basically gasoline thrown into a fire, and that will blow things up. That police station was burnt down by arsonists. So I need you to do not get confused by all of the tomfoolery. Yes, there was looting, there was rioting, and at some point, you just get tired. And when I got tired is when the Attorney General got up there and said, there is possibly evidence that we have that would not make this a criminal charge. Now, I don't know what he has. I've been practicing law a long time. Even though the standards on the federal to indict a police officer is very, very hard, which is why they hardly ever do a police charge on the state level, because state level is easy. They usually bring in the feds because it's harder to prove a depraved mind. That one element that is because you almost need a psychologist to tell whether a person has a depraved mind. And so that is the criteria on the federal level for a police officer to be charged with murder. You have to prove depraved mind. So the fix is in. I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of what you're going to see. Now, and so I'm not going to get into the whole definition of murder because come on, any of us, any black officer, one black officer in Minnesota, one officer in Minnesota has ever been indicted and jailed for killing a person. And that person was a black officer and a white woman. The only time a officer ever in the history of the Minnesota Police Department who's ever been found guilty of a shooting was one black officer who shot a white woman. So let me start from there. So this is what we're dealing with Minnesota. Now, the amount of time that has passed, these 4 officers were fired, but even the mayor said, I don't know why they haven't been arrested. That's because from the demon at the top and his Lucifer and all of the lower demons, starting with Barr, which is the most powerful demon in this country right now, because he oversees the Attorney General's office. So the Attorney General of Minnesota came out there yesterday, already started off with, we have reason to believe there is evidence that would justify. Now, I don't know what the hell he could have, but let's start with that. So until then, the state can't do anything. Right now, it is in the hands of Barr and the Republicans that's running that Attorney General's office. So that mayor is trying to do everything he can. That I have to say, that mayor is doing everything that he can. Now, the other thing that became very apparent to me last night, because I took time and went over on to Susan Taylor's page and had to get to some rebuilding of the community and doing some positive thinking in the midst of the negative. So I got 2 screens going on at the same time. And my TV, I had the rights going on, and then I was live in more of an intellectual conversation, because you got to try to balance your brain sometimes, but don't turn your brain off. Then maybe about 1:30, I start going online, and I sent you one. There was an exorbitant number of white people online last night telling black people it's time for y'all get up and gather arms. Now, at first, when I saw the one white lady, she had "fuck Trump" on her head. I said, okay, Then there was dozens and dozens and dozens of white people on last night. Why? I ain't never seen this before. I ain't never seen it before. On live, telling black people, go get arms. Black people, go get guns. Even giving you directions and how you have to do it and what guns you should buy. This is about to be war, y'all. Now, I was thinking it in my heart, hoping that it didn't have to come to my head, but this is going to be a strategic attempt to soak us into a war right as Trump is trying to get back in office and get enough white people scared. I was looking at white people on real time at other stations in front of their houses with mother freaking AK-47s in Minnesota, outside of their houses, because this is all happening by the police station. But there's white people at home sitting on their porches with their rifles, waiting for a black person to come down their street. Now, I know you guys saw on CNN where they arrested the daggone young brother on CNN, and he was sitting there reporting by this morning why they didn't do that shit last night. So be prepared. This is going to be a war. Now, to what extent? Because if they do not charge, they were rioting in LA, they were rioting in Nashville, they were rioting in 30 different states, even over in Times Square yesterday. They were protesting, not rioting. Everybody else was basically protesting, but they were rioting in LA and in Minneapolis. So I need you to stay focused, because sometimes, and this seems like to be the time, where you got to burn the bitch down. And that's what they did. They burned the bitch down. Because they were hearing some of the things that we weren't hearing, that they weren't doing jack in Minneapolis with regards to these police officers. And they are trying to find every possible way. This is another instance that I want to tell you before I leave. Mr. Floyd, George Floyd, I can't always, because his first name and last name is both synonymous, but he was a bouncer for 17 years. And I'm not sure which one of the 3 police officers, because if you got the good arrow, you had one officer on his neck, one officer on his back, and one officer on his leg. So when he was saying, I can't move, he literally, if you got new aerials on the other side of the car, there was 3 officers. That's why 4 officers were fired. 3 officers was on his body. One on his neck, one on his back, and one on his legs. So he was basically, his body was being paralyzed by the pressure point in his neck. That's why he started losing the ability to feel himself. Like he said, I can't feel my body. So and he's like, I'm hurting, my back is hurting, everything's hurting. When you hear a man cry out for his mother, you know he's at the end. He's feeling the end of his. So I want you to just be prepared, because the fix is in. I'm going to come back, because I'm sure by the end of the day, we're going to hear some more bullshit. But the fix is in, y'all. And at the rate they're going, it's already been 4 days, and not one of these officers have been arrested. They've been fired, because the mayor has the power to do that. But the mayor doesn't have the power to bring the charges. The city prosecutor has the power to bring charges, but they came in quick, fast, and hurry, usurped the power of the state, and now it's at the federal level. It is now the federal government that has to determine whether they get indicted for anything, or even that any charges are even been brought. It's now in 45 and Barr is controlling the federal prosecutors to determine whether there will even be charges. Now, this man is trying to get his presidency back. So if he can't, he will let you tear up. He will let you riot. He will let you bring it to the point, because the National Guard is in Minnesota now. Now, anything pop off now, the government is going to say that they need, and they're having a brother to head this, they need the National Guard to start shooting y'all down like we on a military ground out in Iraq or somewhere. So I just want you to be clear, understand what we're doing. Because I always say, if you're gonna burn your house down, I hope you don't put deposit on another place to live. But see, sometimes we think we're moving with our hearts and not with our mind. There's a strategic way to do everything, even burn the bitch down. There's the strategic way to get justice, because as you know, with black folks, we always gotta We got to damn near destroy shit before we get anywhere. We've been hosed, we've been dog bit, we've been shot. They've done every possible thing over from the beginning of time. I don't even know if you know enough history, but the Boston Massacre, you know that the Boston Tea Party ain't had shit to do with us, but the first person killed, now I'm going to give you just a tad bit of history, get it in, get it out. The first person killed in a whole fucking place of white folks at the Boston Tea Party was a black man. A black slave that was brought there by his master. The first person shot was a black man at the Boston Tea Party. So I'm going to just let you know, we always going to be the first person killed. All right, so I need you to stay vigilant, stay safe. Right now, forget the PPE, because if the coronavirus hit everybody done hit already. That's out the window. But right now, they're planning the way to just start machine gunning your asses. And then you got white folks out there telling you to go get guns. All they need to see is one gun. And ain't gonna be no more rubber bullets, y'all. So be prepared. Stay engaged. Don't watch just one channel. Go around the news. Go right now, go up and down different sites that you may not have thought to look at. Look at some of these white supremacist sites. They are preparing for war. Everybody is, and so what they're doing is to so that they can have a little bit of balance. They're telling you to go get your guns. They're telling you right now, black people, it's time for you to get your guns, because white people got their guns. Now, I've been saying that all the time. Nobody was listening. But when I saw how many white people were live last night on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, telling black people to go get guns, because you don't have to believe me. Just go back and watch. The fix is in, y'all. It ain't over. And they're doing every damn thing they can to make sure. I didn't finish telling you. So Floyd was a bouncer with one of the officers that was on his back for 17 years. One of those officers in that crowd, I don't know which one, knew Floyd personally, because as you can see, he's the kind of guy, his size and build is the kind of guy that would be a bouncer. One of those police officers, if not all of them, knew him personally. If you look at the blackouts on the video, they're purposely not showing you which officer is standing before which person is on the. This was two people that was on the ground. Only one person was being arrested. And the officers' tapes, which they're supposed to have on a body cam, are on silent. There's something going on. Let's stay vigilant. Let's look at everything. We know that a murder went down. Everybody that has looked at it knows that a murder went down. You depraved mind is when somebody is telling you minute by minute the man's life is coming out of him. The depraved mind was right there on slow motion in 7 minutes. We all watched the depraved mind, which is the standard for federal. You have to prove that the police officer has a depraved mind. That means he purposely and knowingly committed murder. He purposely and knowingly committed murder, because he is being told, even when they came up, the ambulance came and they came and checked his pulse, he never took his knee off his neck. That's about as purposeful and knowing. And so I don't even need to give you no real, definition of murder, because I can give you, there's three. You got reckless, you got manslaughter, you got first degree, you got second degree. I don't even need to give you, we're already, I'm telling you, that is the definition of first degree murder. So that I don't even need to give you no legalese. But be careful, listen carefully. And I'm going to be on this with us, and I'm stopping all the yelling and all of that emotion, because this ain't about emotion. Because I got to keep my mind focused on the tomfoolery that is coming from Washington, that is going to have this entire country going up in smoke. Peace. I'll see you on the side, maybe later on tonight, depending on how crazy it gets. Love you guys.